How's everyone doing? How are we all doing? Fantastic. For those of you that already gave us questions, kudos to you. You haven't even heard us speak yet. You already gave us questions. So if we answer your question throughout the course of this panel discussion, I will single you out for not having listened to us first before giving us a question. Just kidding. So my name is Arda. I'll be moderating this panel of wonderful people that are the experts on social media, and hopefully by the end of this panel, you guys will either have questions that we'll be happy to answer, or you guys will have learned a thing or two about how to use social media and the different platforms and how to improve your game on social media. So we'll go down the line, and I'll ask each panelist to give their name and what they do, and their social media handles, so you can find them online, and your favorite color.
Favorite color, starting with that.
Yes.
Purple. Yay. So my name is Jessy Grossman. I'm a talent agent at Don Buchwald Associates. My handle is easy to remember. It's social media agent on Instagram. Jessy Grossman on Twitter, because someone took it. On other platforms. And yeah, just a little bit about me. I represent social media influencers. So some of that will be crossover clients with our traditional divisions of our agency. So some of that will be actors who, because of a project they've done, whether it's a TV show or a movie, will have gained a large social media following, and I book them on branded partnerships. A majority of my clients, though, are social media influencers, so they're known for their social media brand on Instagram, on YouTube, etc. So that's a little bit about me.
Hi, everybody. Lillian Isabella. I don't have a favorite color.
Really?
Really.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah, I like the rainbow.
Cool.
Let's go with that. So I'm an actor and a model and a writer and a social media expert. When I graduated from NYU Tisch, I majored in acting, and I dove right into social media. And I gathered a really large following for myself, over 20,000 followers on Twitter and over 40,000 on Facebook. And I had a real passion for it. So I started to get some social media clients. Cell phone. I'm just going to call it out so we don't all feel awkward. But yeah, so I gathered a really large following, and I started to really love it. So I took on some clients, and I worked with the Tribeca Film Institute, for example, for about a year. And while working with them, I increased their Instagram following by over 300%, and their Facebook following by over 25%, and their Twitter following by over 50%. So it's not just for me, but it's social media is like a very exciting thing to me for all people. So hopefully I'll help you guys. And I think that's it, and I've been talking for too long, so.
Hi, I'm Heidi Dean, and I'm a social media strategist, and I am the creator and founder of Marketing for Actors. That's the number 4, and it is a site committed to social media for actors, 100%. And my handle is Marketing for Actor or Marketing for Actors, and my job pretty much is to turn social media rookies into rock stars. So, and my favorite color is blue.
I'm Tony Howell of TonyHowell.me and at Tony Howell. I am a digital strategist, and I say that I'm dedicated to helping you design your future, creating more offline success from your 24/7 and international web presence. My favorite colors, you can ask Jonathan, my assistant who's in the audience, are black and white. That way you pop and your content pops. And you stay classic forever. And that's about it. We turn artists into businesses. We do that through websites, consulting, online courses, and occasional live events like tonight.
Where's Jonathan? Raise your hand, Jonathan. Where are you? Is that true?
That's the man.
Is it true? All right, good. We got confirmation, guys. We got confirmation. And that's what I would do as a member of the media, is confirm the sources. So I'm moderating this. My name is Arda. My favorite color is red, and all of my social media is Arda Ocal TV. I'm coming at it from a broadcast perspective. So I am more of a broadcaster. I'm not an actor, more of a host type. I work in sports, and so my social media following is very specific. And so I'm able to provide perspective from that realm, growing an audience from a niche perspective. that will be sort of my contribution as well as moderating this. So before we go on with our panel, I actually want to know what this room is made of so that we can best cater our answers to you and you guys can get the absolute most out of this panel. Raise your hands if you guys are actors. All right, that's it. We're good. What about people behind the scenes, producers, writers, directors? Cool. Anybody own a brand or represent a brand online? Okay, we got a couple. That's cool. Yeah, Tony over there as well. Okay.
That's a trick question.
Yeah, because you can.
Everyone has a brand.
Everyone is a brand. Trick question, guys. Come on. Everyone should have raised their hands. Fantastic. Okay, let's start with all the different types of social media because I've seen everything from people curating content specifically for different platforms to people using automated programs to just put the same content across every single brand of social media. And when I say that, I mean Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, just taking content and how to present content on those different platforms. Jessy, why don't we start with you? What, for this audience, how should they push their content across different platforms?
So that's a great question and something that not everybody always thinks about, but it's actually very important to distinguish each platform from each other. So the way to distinguish them from each other is really to know that the demographics of each platform are a little bit different, right? So Snapchat, for example, definitely skews a lot younger. Facebook tends to skew a lot older. Instagram is like a millennial sort of platform. So depending on the audience that you're looking to reach should determine the type of content that you're putting out there. So we always suggest two things. Number one, doing that to really cater your tone depending on that specific audience. And in addition, in order to gain more engagement on each platform, which engagement would be likes and comments and people actually responding to your work, we always suggest rather than pushing it from one platform to the other, meaning if you're on Instagram, you can send Instagram to Facebook through Instagram, that's pushing it, versus posting it natively to each individual platform. Without getting too technical, the algorithms in each platform prefer that you do that, so they get more eyes on it. So it takes an extra all of less than 10 minutes, more like 2 or 3, but that will increase the ability to have more eyes on each piece of content that you put out there. So that's one trick that I always suggest to people. Sure. So to natively post on each individual platform versus pushing it, because pushing it is from Instagram. You live in Instagram and everything goes from there. The ideal situation is to go into Facebook and post, go into Twitter and post natively. I should have described. Because the algorithms in each individual platform they want you to go into Facebook. They don't want you to post from Twitter. Facebook wants its users to be extra active. So they will know when you post in Facebook, they know that and they prefer that. And so they push your content out there a little bit more. So you'll in turn have more eyes on your content because it knew that it started in Facebook.
So Lillian, as an actor, when you have something you want to post, how do you post it across all the different platforms?
I agree that it's best to post natively, especially if you're going to be posting something to Instagram and you connect it with Twitter. When it shows up on Twitter, it looks really awkward because it'll just be the first sentence of what you posted on Instagram and then ... and an Instagram link, which is not engaging and it looks lazy.
And that's because there's a character limit in Twitter, in case some of you guys don't know that.
Right.
And the image doesn't load often.
No, and the image
either.
doesn't show. Right. So images are one of the ways that you get a lot of engagement, right? Images and videos. So if you create a post, I always create a post for the individual platform that I'm posting to, especially with Twitter and Instagram. I have connected my Instagram account to my Facebook account because we all have favorites for social media, and I happen to love Instagram, so I post there a lot more frequently, and then it just keeps my Facebook profile looking active. But what I do is when I post to Instagram, I right away go into Facebook and I edit the content so that it reads and it actually tags the people that I'm trying to tag on Facebook. Because when you try and tag someone on Instagram, it doesn't automatically tag that person on Facebook. So you want to, if you're going to do that, you want to make sure that you're going in and making it look as professional as you can. And also, there's different like things with hashtags, which we'll probably get into later, but there's like different limits for hashtags, right? So on Instagram, you can do a lot more hashtags and it'll be fine, especially if you hide it in the comments below. And with Twitter, you want to use 1 to 2 maximum. And Facebook, you can use 1 to 2 as well, but a lot, it's not really a good look for Facebook.
Anything to add? So what would you suggest to your clients, Heidi, when they have content that they want to push across all platforms? And maybe even throw in some frequency in there. Like, should we be using one social media platform more than another one? Is it more conducive to getting it out there more? How does that all work?
Well, with my clients, I do tell them that they, you can pick a favorite. Look at them as like houses. So you have your main house that you're at all the time. For me, that would be Twitter, right? If you know me on Twitter, I'm there all the time. But I have vacation homes. And this is fun because these are vacation homes that you're going to be at all the time. It's not like real life. So Instagram's one of my vacation homes, but I'm there all the time as well. But I know if my life gets busy, I don't have to be there. So it is good to rank your platforms in order, especially when you're starting out. Once you're an influencer, once you're a big actor who might have someone running your account, sure, you can be everywhere. But when you're starting out, you don't want to get overwhelmed. It's best that you pick just 1 or 2 platforms and focus on those and natively post and figure out what media is going to work best in each place. Then try to be 1,000% everywhere. It's just not going to work. And, we were talking about how to stand out in the feed and using media. Media is one of the best ways to stand out in your feed. But also I want you to think about what type of media to use. So if you're on Twitter, think about what's going to make somebody stop scrolling and scrolling and scrolling in their feed and stop and pay attention to your post. So on Twitter, a lot of the status updates are going to be text. You're seeing more visuals, but most of them are text. So why not add some media? Add some photos, add some videos, add a GIF. It's right into the tweet. Then on Facebook, use video for the algorithm, like we're talking about now. Right now, we know if you have a Facebook page that Facebook is giving preference to live video and organically posted video. So definitely, if you can add video content, even little tiny video content to Facebook, you might actually show up in the Facebook feed. And then Instagram, real quick, of course, it's a platform that's all visuals. But I know when I'm scrolling through my feed on Instagram, what always makes me stop is video. Okay, every single time. So if a 60-second video sounds like too much, try a boomerang. It's that little infinity loop that's on your, on Instagram. And it's, it takes a series of 10 photos really fast and makes that really catchy 1-second video that makes people stop and look. So think about your different platforms, how you're going to make them stop, how you're going to be interesting on those different platforms, okay?
And to add on, I will bounce off of that and say that I believe that social media is 20% of your online presence. It's 1/5. There are actually 4 other things, which I'll breeze through, but you can learn more about them on my website. The first is branding, knowing who you are and also who you're talking to. So it's not just the me show, but it's like who do you want to hire you? Who do you want to buy the product? Having clarity on that and specificity. Then we get legit media, really professional photos and videos, not iPhone photography, not your friend that does headshots. Really great product photos. Then a website. Here's why I'm going to prioritize a website over social, and this may come up, we can talk about it. My thought about it is that Google, like what Heidi said with vacation homes, your brand is your empire. So if I said Whoopi, Ellen, Sting, Madonna, we know these people by one name. They have name recognition, and if I showed you their picture, they have face recognition. That is built up over time by impressions. Every time you post, every time you interact, that's your little impressions, okay? So your name, we all have a brand in this room. Your brand is your empire. When word of mouth marketing is everything, people talking about anyone in this room will get you the job, whatever it may be, okay? So when someone mentions your name, or if I say, hey, a coffee shop on 9th Avenue, where are you gonna go to look it up? So you need to take control of your Google results. How do you do that? You start creating content, but why do I think you need a website? and it doesn't have to be a big website. Here's why. You're gonna lose people to cute panda videos on YouTube. You're gonna lose them to a hashtag or to someone else's IMDb page or whatever it may be. So a website does not have to be large. I actually would prefer that you Kanye West this. Go check out Kanye's site. It's dated, he needs to call me, but it doesn't need to be small. Here's what you do. Your website controls your Google results and it captures interest. How are you gonna get someone to type in your name ever again? So once they're there, Google is the gate. Your website is your home. You welcome them. Build the dream home. And for most of us, that's probably a small, tiny apartment in New York that's really well done, right? Then from there, and now it's a little bit larger, maybe it's on the Upper West Side. You have your Twitter terrace, you have your Instagram observatory, your Pinterest parlor, your LinkedIn office. These are all different areas in your empire, okay? And you play the role as CEO of your brand. You play the role of chef or DJ, and you serve up that content wherever you want, however you want. It may be served, late night here, early morning there, but it's all the same stuff going out. And the last part is email. So social media, we are in an age, I believe we're in a golden age of social media. Those of us with Facebook pages up here on the panel will tell you that Facebook pulled the biggest bait and switch in history where they said everyone needs a fan page. How many people have a fan page in the room? How many people are getting much traction on their fan page? Just Isabella, she's rocking it. Follow Isabella. So there is a 2% reach. That means if you get 100 people to like your page, when you post, 2 people see it. And Facebook says, if you want to get people to your show, just spend $20. We'll air that commercial for you. So what happens when Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, does the same thing? Or Twitter gets competitive and says, you know what? If you want people to donate to that, you need to put $10 yourself. So what I would encourage you to do is start building an email list. You don't need to be sending email marketing until you have an album or a tour or something to promote, but start collecting names so that when you have the meeting at HBO or Sony or Random House, you say, well, I have this many Twitter followers, this many Instagram, and the marketers in the room, when you tell them how big your email list is, they're gonna go, okay, sign this person. That's my 2 cents.
Very good. Yeah, of course, it was great. Yeah. So let's talk about what we're posting now. So let's say we've sat down and we've identified what our brand is, okay? I'm an actor or I'm a musician or whatever my public brand is. What about what I post online? So is there because usually when we're scrolling through our feeds, we see a lot of filter. We see, the amount of politics that's being talked about now has exponentially grown. That, and between that and cat memes, that's my entire timeline, right? So how do we know what we should be posting, when we should be posting it, and when we should post the other stuff, the fun stuff? How does that work? Anybody can take this one.
Well, I'll just address the politics thing right away. It's one of the biggest questions I get from actors is, should I be posting politics, especially this year? And one of my golden rules of social media is that you are what you tweet. So you do need to be careful. You have to know that the business is very different than it was 5 years ago. So the first place someone might meet you, like Tony said, might be online, way before they ever meet you in the audition room, okay? Maybe because it's a self-submission, or they're just Googling you to see if they're gonna take a chance on you to even see you in the audition. So what does your social media say about you? Your posts are a direct reflection of who you are and that person that they're gonna be working with for hours on set or weeks in the rehearsal room. So when people ask me, should I be posting about politics? It is person to person. So of course, if you're a comedian or if you do political satire or you're just kind of tells it like it is kind of person, yeah, maybe you should be posting about politics. But you do need to remember that not everyone in this business is going to have the same views as you. They're not going to have the same views, politics, religion, any hot button, issue. So you're building relationships. You're spending all this time building relationships offline on social media. And if you do talk about these in certain ways, you will turn people away. So, and you will turn relationships away. And you may have never talked about politics or religion on the set. So keep that in mind. What I do like to say is that if you are gonna hop on any hot topic item, is that speak about what you're for instead of what you're against. So Please remember that. Speak about what you're for instead of what you're against. This is going to, of course, make you appear more positive, which is always good because these people have to work with you. But it also is going to make sure that you still get to keep your voice, which is so important as an artist. And then you can still talk about what you believe, but speak what you're for and not what you're against. Remember, you are what you tweet. So.
I strongly agree with Heidi. Strongly. My rule is to just be positive on social media. And obviously I have political opinions because I'm a human. But I don't like to express them, and I don't like finding words to express them because it's a tinderbox. So a little trick that I use is I will retweet a reputable source that is saying something very close to how I feel, and is usually a source that people won't get mad at. And that way I get to express my opinion without evoking a lot of anger or negative energy directed towards me. And then to address what you said about how do you figure out the content that you're going to share. I think this is such an important thing to figure out. And when I was first starting out, I developed this exercise that I've since done with clients that works really well. I'm going to share it with you guys now. Basically, it's what I call a social media map, right? So the first thing you need to figure out is what your brand is. So what are you selling? What's the point? Why do you want to be on social media? So for most of us in this room, it would probably be we're actors or producer or whatever, right? So you figure out, why am I here? What am I selling? What am I gonna what do I want to gain, right? What do I want to tell people that I'm doing here? That's the first section. The second section is you want to write down all the adjectives that would describe your personality. And that's really important because your personality in real life is going to hopefully inform your tone of voice on social media. And tone of voice is something that's also very important as far as gathering new followers and keeping their interest, because you're going to be creating a very specific persona and brand, like he was talking about. So you want to create your tone of voice through your personality. So think of all those adjectives that could possibly describe you. The next section is called Global Citizen. And the reason I have this section in there is because we're not just a megaphone for our own art and our own work. And if we were, that'd be really boring and people wouldn't want to follow us. So for Global Citizen, how do you connect with the world around you, right? Like, what issues are you passionate about? What world events are you passionate about? Do you like Puppy Bowl? Do you, it could be anything. It could literally be anything. Do you like comedy? Do you like to go to the theater? Do you whatever? And it could be not entertainment related as well. Climate change, whatever you're interested in and passionate about. That was slightly political. I kind of regret saying it, but that's okay. But yeah, so that's Global Citizens, the third category. And the fourth and last category is called Team Player. And that one's very similar to Global Citizen, but Team Player is about who do you support, right? Who do you want to be on your team? Whether that's a director that you really want to work with, or whether that's an actor that you love, a friend in real life, or an organization that you support. So just really get clear on who you want to be working with, who you want to be on your team, and really create this little map and literally write it out, because then it's something that you can consult and go back to. So when you're trying to think about social media posts, you're not just like, what do I do? You're like, okay, who do I love? What do I support? Who am I in real life? And then how do I translate that to social media?
Jessy, you work with so many social media influencers, millions upon millions of followers on several platforms. How do they approach this topic, and what sort of best practices have you seen them use to success?
So my client's goal, we were talking about, why are you on social media in the first place? Like, their goal it's multifaceted, but with the immediate goal being to obtain brand sponsorships, right? So like, if you are on Instagram and you're scrolling through and there's somebody with usually over 500,000 followers at a minimum, but definitely those people who have in the millions of followers, and you see a hashtag ad or a hashtag sponsored in the caption of their post, they were paid to do that. It's not just for the Kim Kardashians of the world. They do them too, but I have tons of clients who are just like everybody else in this room. They're your average person who either fell in love with photography and they're on Instagram, or a lot of them used to be actors or still are actors, and they love YouTube. They love storytelling, so they gravitated towards YouTube. But they will post on all of those different platforms. What I was also going to mention too is that some of our actor clients that we work with who are they were in a show and they have a social media following, they'll always want to be brand safe because you can be a traditional performer and you never want the reason that somebody doesn't hire you, of all the reasons they have. You could be too tall, too this, read the lines not right. You don't want the one reason to be because you tweeted something about a political figure that they like or offended them in some way, shape, or form. Like, make a friend that's sitting next to you right now and go out to get a coffee and have that conversation with that person versus putting it out there for the entire world to see. So I tend to err on the safe side. I definitely agree, though, that there are things that you can put out there. And I think the comedian side is very smart to think about, to be mindful of. But generally speaking, I would say to be more safe than sorry in that respect.
I want to echo this sentiment because especially if you're working with a large brand. So predominantly my career has been spent with companies like ESPN and MSG Networks, and these are large companies. And so if I'm out there posting something political that might be construed as controversial, that's going to come back to me, right? So if the comedians are often working for themselves, they're out there on the road, they don't necessarily have that big brand tie just yet, but they don't want to tweet something that will bite them in the rear when that time comes. So definitely think about that, especially if you have big ambitions to work with large brands. That could absolutely factor in.
Sure, and also to riff off of that as well, like I've seen, you hear about how employers will, go through your Facebook feed now instead of just on your resume. Well, it goes even a step further in this space as well. Like the brands that I work with, which always come through either a PR firm or an ad agency, they completely audit all of these social media platforms, every single one. So it's out there and they will find it. There's like programs to just search for certain things. I've had clients have to go through background checks in order to be able to be deemed worthy of working with a brand. It's usually like a financial services type of financial brand, or, some specific ones have more regulations with who they're working with, and they're very strict about it. But yes, they'll audit everything.
So what we're saying is just tweet cat pictures all day. Just stick to the cat pictures, guys. 5 a day is fine. Just kidding. Okay, Heidi, I'll start with you on this one. I'm sure a lot of people here would love to know how to grow their following. I have 150 followers on Twitter, let's say. How do I grow that to 1,000? How do I grow that to 10,000? How do I grow that to 100,000? How do I just keep the momentum going and grow that snowball downhill so that I keep getting followers every single day? How do I get people to notice me? And do I do this organically or do I get help? What are your thoughts?
That's a huge question. We could spend all day on it. One of the biggest mistakes I see actors make with trying to grow a following is that they hop on Twitter, they hop on social media, and they post. They might use hashtags thinking that that's going to do it. That helps, but it's not going to do it. And they just engage with their friends. And they don't step out anywhere and introduce themselves to anybody else. Social media, for the most part, is a big party. So you would never go to a party with a couple of your friends and go sit in the corner, right? And if you did, you wouldn't make any friends, right? So on social media, you have to extend your hand. You have to introduce yourself. So to start growing your following every single day, if it's important to you, you should be extending your hand to like-minded people who like what you do and do what you do and are passionate about what you do. And that doesn't just have to be acting. And you should be introducing yourself. That could be following them. That could be replying, reacting, commenting, regramming, just engaging. And that's a huge mistake I see actors make, is they don't engage. And engaging is one of the biggest components of growing your following. Now, there's another part to it. Before you even engage, you need to make sure you are creating an awesome first impression, because you're going to spend every day extending your hand. People are going to go over to your bio, and they're going to say, maybe not. So you're going to first want to make sure that you're creating the most awesome first impression on your accounts. And that means creating an awesome header photo or a cover photo, or a YouTube channel art. That's that big billboard at the top of your social media that most people on Twitter leave blue, which tells us nothing about you. So you can use something like canva.com. It's completely free, and they have templates for every single platform, and you can design it. You can put canva.com, canva.com. Yes, and so make sure that header photo, cover photo, whatever platform you're on, shows us who you are and what you do. That's one of the first things people see, okay? Make sure your profile photo is recognizable, and make sure it looks like your brand on every single platform. Until you're an influencer or a big actor, you want people to know who you are. And I can't tell you how many times I'm talking to an actor on Twitter, and I have no idea it's the same one I talk to on Instagram. Now, I have almost 25,000 followers on Twitter, but still, I don't know it's the same person. It takes 7 to 12 times to make an impression, and online, you don't want to have to make an impression on, 7 to 12 times on Instagram, 7 to 12 times on Twitter. Use the same photo, preferably a headshot, as your profile photo. That will change depending on who you are. So work on that first impression, the profile photo, the header photo, and the bio. The bio is so important.
Yes.
Your bio's #1 job is to make someone follow you or click down to that website link and find out more about you, okay? So I don't want to talk too long, but
What are some bio best practices? I've seen, like, some broadcasters they put broadcaster as their 4th title. They'll say mother, son, potato chip enthusiast, host of SportsCenter, for example. And I thought that was very endearing, because somebody reading that, it's like, oh, this person has their priorities in order, something like that. So what are some other best practices? Tony, do you want to start with you?
Sure. In terms of a bio, yeah, I think it's exactly what Heidi just said. You are crafting a first impression online. To specifically answer that question, and then I have little things but we can all talk later. The bio should do 2 things. Who are you and what do you do? And then you have to give people a reason to follow you. So you have to be a leader to have followers. So what is your reason? So I could rewind that and say, what is your why? So getting people to buy the product, I feel like with artists in the room and artists watching this replay, tap into the why. It's a Simon Sinek talk that you should watch, but people buy what you do. People buy why you do something, not what you do. So if you can figure out why you went into comedy, or why you went into opera or ballet, and figure out then how you can use Twitter as your paintbrush or Instagram as your drumstick, then it actually becomes adding value as opposed to selling. Social media is really hard to sell on. You see people paying influencers to talk to their audience. So I feel like most of the people watching need to keep in mind, again, social media is part of the big picture, but let it be a small part of it. It's a little bit like chicken and the egg for me. What comes first, fame or followers? And so just keep that in mind. And to highlight what Heidi said too, it's about relationships. So does Steven Spielberg, if he really watches an actor, does he care if they have 100,000 followers, or if this person is the best for the job and he wants to spend all day, filming a movie with that person? So don't lose sight of that. I think that it's something that can become very addictive and unhealthy. So I just want to highlight that it is a tool to be used like fire or water. If you don't have enough, or if you use too much, it can be very dangerous. So just use it with discretion and intention. And tapping into your why of why you became an artist will allow you to come to these platforms and use them as a gift to an audience, as opposed to asking your audience for something daily: attention, a job, validation, affirmation.
So I also wanted to chime in on your question about the bio too. So my background is in commercials actually. So before I started this department working with social media influencers, I worked with actors all day long, but in the commercial realm in particular. And commercials have changed a lot. A lot of you in the room, I'm sure, work in commercials and maybe have seen the shift and the transition. And these days, casting directors are looking more for like real people versus I'm selling a product. And so the idea of what you were saying of a bio that says like, I'm a mother, I'm a cat enthusiast, I'm a New Yorker, like whatever you're genuinely passionate about, I actually think that people in the commercial world specifically love that. They want to see more of that because they already know, like, you're an actor or you're a broadcaster. Like, they know that already about you. What don't they know? What might they be able to add into a storyline of a commercial spot that's airing a national network and you're going to get all these residuals from it? Like, this is what a lot of casting directors, this is the breakdowns that are coming in. They're looking for real people, real stories, just and the vibe of it is the same. It's real and it's not put on and salesy. So I think that's a great sort of go-to.
I would love to say one more thing. That I totally agree. And you're gonna know when you get your bio right is because people are gonna talk to you about it. They're gonna follow you and they're gonna go, oh my God, I love Indian food too, or I have cowboy boots too. It becomes a talking point. So yes, put keywords. You were asking about broadcaster. Yes, put keywords, put actor, put things that are gonna help them key into what you do and help you come up in search, obviously. But put your hobbies, put your interests, put your passions, put your achievements if, you won a Jefferson Award, But yeah, put your hobbies, achievements that people can connect with. People wanna know on social media about your latest booking, but even more, they wanna know how you're just like them, So remember that.
Because also what you're saying at the end is about that it's about value that you're giving to your audience. That's so important. And on the flip side of it, in order to consistently post on social media, you kind of have to learn to love it. You really have to love this thing or else it's just going to be something you maybe do for a few weeks and then you're like, oh, I'm not really into this. You have to really love it. And so to be able to add that value and you've loved this medium that you're now working in, it's a matter of plugging the things that you are genuinely interested in because that's the only way to keep it consistently going. I love New York, so yeah, I'm gonna repost this group that I'm a part of. There's a really cool group on Facebook about like the history of New York. I don't know if any of you guys follow it. See, it's a great. So just seeing these old pictures of New York or whatever you're just genuinely passionate about, that's how you're gonna keep the conversation going because you're really enthusiastic about it.
Lillian, I want to ask you this question. Has your social media following got you in rooms? Like people said, hey, we wanted to audition with you because you have such a big social media following. Has that opened doors for you? Or is it really just about your audition tape and your skill?
That's a great question. I honestly think, of course, it's great to have a large social media following for obvious reasons, right? But like everybody's saying, you're probably gonna notice a trend. I think what's more important is who you're connecting with on social media. So people that I've connected with on social media have gotten me contacts that have gotten me into rooms. And that's more important. Being an authentic person who's genuinely trying to have a conversation with people is more important than the number of followers that you have. That's what I would say. And I could give a couple of anecdotes. I was told anecdotes are a good idea. So basically, okay, one example I can give is there is somebody who is, I'm not gonna say any names, but there's a showrunner who I really respect and admire the work that they do. And I reached out to them and commented on something that was like a small detail in one of the shows that they do, and they wrote back. And then we struck up a conversation on Twitter, which turned into a direct message conversation on Twitter. And then we were basically like, casually communicating. And then I went to an event that this person was at, and I went up and I introduced myself, and he went, oh, I know you from Twitter. Yeah, so that was great. And it's just like it's just an example that it really is another person on the other side. It sounds silly to say that out loud, right? But these are actually people doing their own social media, trying to connect with other artists and other humans. And if you can remember that, and then I think it helps you feel more like you're having fun and more like you're telling a story too. You know, like social media, if you're doing it right, is storytelling. It's genuinely like getting down into what I was talking about before, like global citizen. Something I'm very passionate about is supporting women in film, right? Gender parity. I talk about it all the time. I support other women in film all the time. And it's led to a lot of connections online. And you start to build this really organic network with people. Another example I can give is I have a metabolic disorder called phenylketonuria. Basically, I can't break down the amino acid phenylalanine, which is found in things that are high in protein. And it's a very rare disorder. 1 in 10,000 people have it. But I've been talking about it on social media. I post about it on Twitter. I've created videos about it on YouTube. And not a lot of people do talk about it. The majority of the people who talk about it are doctors, which is really boring and kind of depressing a lot of the time. So I'm going out there and talking about it in a very positive way. And I've had people reach out to me, send me emails through my website. It's important to have a website. But they send me emails and they try and connect. And this one person who reached out to me has someone in the family who has PKU. And he is a network executive on a huge network. And now he keeps me in mind for roles and when things come up. And he'll like talk to people about me, right? And that's just because I talked about my very rare metabolic disorder. So you never know, and so you just want to try and see who are you authentically, what stories do you love to tell, and then find a way to translate that on social media and share that on social media without getting overwhelmed. That would be my advice.
If I can offer something really simple bouncing off of that, we're talking about being connected with your audience. So if you focus on connection as opposed to connections plural, it's going to keep you a healthier person. And let the scale, let the ebb and flow of people coming and going not affect you so much. But as long as you are connected, one, with your audience, and then you're also connected with yourself, that is great. I have 100 today, 1,000 tomorrow, 10,000. That it's all the same, like that's where the health is. And sometimes just in my own experience, I can say, you know, it's important to look around and be grateful for what you have and not always be looking for what you want. So take a moment to actually recognize what you already have achieved and not be so future focused.
I have a few more questions for our panel here, but I'm sure that you guys have a lot of questions as well. So Melissa will actually be walking around and collecting all of your questions so that we can get to as many of them as possible. So feel free to see Melissa on the side there. Oh, another lady is there too. What's your name? Shelly. Shelly's here too. So Melissa and Shelly will be collecting your questions. That will happen as we talk along. One big topic, social media. My favorite people on the internet, that would be the trolls. Yes, the dark side of social media. Those people often without a face, they send you mean stuff. They're hiding behind their keyboards, and it happens every now and then. So, how do we deal with trolls? How do we even avoid them? What are some best practices regarding trolls? Thank you.
I mean, I get this a lot just because my clients will have people who are like a little jealous of what they're doing, or they don't like the fact that they're making money off of this because it's such a fun way to make a living, right? All sorts of things. I represent a lot of parenting bloggers who, it's fantastic. You get to work with your kids. Like, you don't have to go to work. You get to work, with them and spend so much more time with them. But people get a little weird about putting your kids on social media. So they say, not so nice things. The reality of it is that it's always going to be there. I hate to be I'm just being a realist about it. It's always going to be there. There's always going to be someone. You can go ahead and delete things, you can take them down, and you should turn on notifications on every single platform, just so when it happens, because inevitably, unfortunately, it will, at least you can take it down. I wouldn't engage in it. I wouldn't respond to it. If especially it's not someone that you don't know what they're going to say back, I would just disengage from it, is the long story short. You can delete it and monitor it from your page, but don't let it get you down either, because you don't know this person from a hole in the wall, and unfortunately it's probably going to keep happening. So if anything, you can build a thicker skin from that experience.
Yeah, my rule is, what a lot of people say is don't feed the trolls. I mean, if you're a celebrity, if you're an influencer, you might be able to call them out because you're going to have millions of people that have your back and are going to, join the conversation against them. But for most actors, just don't feed the trolls. I don't understand these people that it's their full-time job to sit online and post hateful comments. But you have to remember that their goal is to make you angry. So if you deny them the pleasure of that angry response, they're probably going to leave you alone most of the time. And if they don't, you can block them. And another thing you need to do, if it goes past that and it's harassment or it's any kind of physical threats, because I've seen this with clients and I also work with a lot of child actors, you need to screenshot it. So don't just report them, screenshot the threat and then report them, because these people are cowards and they're going to delete the tweet. And yes, you can still track it and see it, but you want to screenshot it and then report them. It's very important. So.
Also, something that you can do is on Twitter, you can block people. So if somebody's harassing you, you can block them and not deal with them. They will know if you block them. So Twitter also created this thing where you can mute them. And if you mute them, they won't know that you've muted them, and you also won't see their nonsense anymore.
They can still talk about you, though.
They can still talk about you.
So you do have to be careful, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree with what everybody's saying. Do not respond, do not engage, and meditate.
The only thing that I can add to that is never react, just respond. So it's the same way, like, if we talked about earlier, like scandals and things, I actually believe that the response is just as important. And I think it's okay to make political statements, Kathy Griffin being the most recent example. The response is just as important as what you did. And I think right and wrong is so subjective, as we're seeing in our world. So your definition of what's right to post on the internet will be different from someone else's. I'm okay with artivism or activism on social media as long as it is a chosen specific post. But dealing with trolls, I think the best policy is to ignore it. Definitely if it gets to a dangerous place, report it. I also want to calm anyone's fears. The internet is public. You could have a stalker in the real world. So best policy is to live your life like we do day to day, and then, go after the bad people if necessary. But don't choose fear in being private and hidden based on privacy concerns. You won't be seen if you're private.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I also want to add that in the time I've been, Twitter's one of my favorites, so I'm just going to keep talking about Twitter. But I've been on Twitter for 6-7 years. And in all the time I've been on there, I've only had somebody say negative things to me once. Which I think just goes to show you, if you are positive and you try and be optimistic and looking at the bright side of things, people very rarely take offense to that. And if they do, it's kind of easy not to get mad at them.
Couple more questions here. Lillian, let's start with you on this one. Some people in this room might just be shy, and they might look at social media and say, wow, this is a daunting task, and I don't know how to do this, and maybe I don't want my life to be public, but I know I have to do it because it's going to improve my career. So how do you balance that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And when I talk to my friends about social media, the number one thing people say to me is that they are a private person or they're a shy person. And I think that, one, that's fascinating, because as performers, we're really putting ourselves in a public place a lot of the time. But also we're doing so with a kind of a shield, right? Because there's a character between us and the audience. And with social media, ideally, you don't want that shield to be there. You want it to be an authentic thing. So it's scary on a level that performing maybe isn't. But I think also, though, you can set rules for yourself. You can get clear on what is too private and what are you not willing to share. For example, romantic relationships. Or for a while, actually for many years, I never posted any pictures of my pets, because to me, that would be like a violation. I don't want people to see pictures of my pets. That's my special relationship, and I don't want other people to like go, oh, whatever, and have a moment with my pet. So it's very silly, right? It's so silly, but to me, that was like a very serious thing, and I was not ready to share that. And now I am. I've gotten over it. But that's another thing, is that you are constantly evolving as a person too. So don't let your fears or what you find to be something that's private now prevent you from exploring social media. Because ideally, your social media presence is evolving with you as you evolve.
I'd love to add to that too. Your social media presence shouldn't be anything different than if you're going to go in for an audition or an interview. It's you. So the first thing I do with my clients is we figure out who you are and what is important to you, but then we set their personal social limits. We define their ñañas, is what I call it. And yes, it's a made-up word. So your ñañas are what's going to keep you from being too personal on social media. So I want you to think about the last time you saw your favorite actor do an interview on some talk show. There's a really good chance that they told the interviewer what topics are off limits, so they don't have to say none your business. Those are your ñañas. They're the topics, the interests, those parts of your life that you've decided, at least for right now, are private, and you are constantly changing, so your ñañas are gonna change. But for some people, talking about your kids is okay, but maybe posting pictures of them isn't, or maybe your pets, that becomes a ñaña. Or who you love or who you vote for or where you worship, maybe that's off limits because frankly, it's none of your business, right? So I think it's really important that you set these personal social limits, because what it actually allows you to do, it's not a limit. It actually allows you to get more personal with your fans and followers because you know what you're going to talk about. And then you know what you're not going to talk about. So it allows you to get personal without being too personal. Okay.
I have a question. Does anyone feel like overwhelmed by the amount of social media that like you're supposed to be posting? So I sense that, and like that's completely reasonable to feel. So one thing that I feel the same way. My clients, I don't know how they do it, to be honest, but like one thing that I always suggest or I try to share is there's a few programs out there that will help you. Some of them are even free. I'm like going off topic a little bit, but I'm all about like giving like actual practical like tools to use. One of them is called Hootsuite. Has anyone heard of Hootsuite in the room?
Chatel has, because that's the question that was written on this card. So there you go. There you go. There you go.
So Hootsuite, for people who don't know, I learned this as an intern a really long time ago about Hootsuite. So you can do many, many, many things. So go explore it. Hoot, HOOT, suite, like a hotel suite, .com. And what you can, one of the main things, one of the major benefits that I think that it does is that you can schedule your tweets or your posts on a number of different platforms, which means that you can go in. I'm going to allot myself an hour on Friday to plan out the entire week so that I am not glued to my phone, so that I can have a life and that I can live and go to auditions and, network in person and do all of the other things that you're supposed to be doing as a working actor, right? But it's incredibly helpful of a tool. You can connect it to your Instagram now. It didn't used to be your Twitter, all your different social platforms. And you can say specifically, I want it to go out on this tweet on Friday at 6 p.m., this Instagram on Wednesday at 4 p.m. There's nothing else that you have to do after that. It just automatically sends it out at that time. And you can go a step further and find out, usually in those specific platforms, times and days that you have your best engagement, so that you're not just, Wednesday at 4 sounds good, but that you can actually make like your Instagram, for example, you can turn it into a business profile, which is just you go into the settings and you click it to a business profile. And now you have access to all of these analytics that Instagram just provides you because they want you to do well on their platform, right? And one of the things that it'll share with you, if you just scroll through, you can Google it too, but like how to read my Instagram business analytics, right? In my business account. it'll tell you what time of day your followers tend to be on Instagram. It's just a simple thing. So Instagram has that information and they want you to know it. So they'll tell you what day the people who follow you tend to be on their phones the most, what time of day they tend to be on their phones the most. So wouldn't you want to maximize this as much as possible since you're posting it, right? And make sure that it's on that day and it's during that time, to just be able to do that, and then you just schedule away and you're good.
So I'll give you a real life example of that. I already have a scheduled tweet for Thursday, for Throwback Thursday, scheduled in Hootsuite, and I scheduled it through the Hootsuite app on my phone. It's going to be a couple of pictures. I reside in the hockey bubble, so it's a New Jersey Devils hockey-related Throwback Thursday, which is relevant to today because they just drafted a really important player. Anyway, I'm getting too granular. But I scheduled it for Thursday at 11 a.m. because I noticed that I get the most interaction from my followers on Twitter around noon. So I've been testing the waters, 11 a.m., 11:15, 11:30. I mean, that's very, very specific, and it's not exactly the biggest sample size because, like we said earlier, not everybody's going to see your tweet when you're tweeting something out. But I've been experimenting a little bit to see if there's any jumps in interactions or likes or retweets, whatever the case may be. So that's a real-world example, and you can do that right on your phone. You can download the Hootsuite app, you connect it to Twitter and now Instagram, like you said, and you can literally schedule tweets for the entire week when you want them out.
It's really user-friendly too. I find that it's very user-friendly. And one other tool, because just a couple, Planely. Does anyone know Planely? So Planely is specific to Instagram. Plan as in Nancy, Oly. Planely. What is it, or spell it? Hoot, HOOTSUITE.com. I feel like I'm in the spelling bee. Hootsuite. Anyone watching The Bachelor last week? What was that?
Another spelling.
Of Planely. Planely. Planely.
I feel like we should have an email sent out with all of the links.
Planely. P as in Peter, LAN as in Nancy, OLY. You're welcome. No.
No, we can't, sir.
I wish I could. Not my forte.
I want to throw
At all.
out two more tools, and they're simpler to spell. One is called Buffer, which I like better than Hootsuite personally because you can randomize the queue. Rather than having to say specific times, you set your schedule and it can be so randomized and it looks a little bit more less scheduled. It looks a little more authentic. I love Buffer for that, and it works on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google+, if anyone still uses it. And then the second I'm now using is Later, which is why I like it for Instagram, is that, you know, when people have captions and they have like ... next line, ... Later allows you to have like really clean, beautiful paragraph breaks. And so that is the reason why I'm willing to pay $10, $20 a month in order to like have things be beautiful.
So can I give a little tip that'll save you some money? So you can just go into your notepad of your iPhone and you can add in like character breaks in there, like paragraph breaks, so you can have a different line, and then you copy and paste that into Instagram, and then you have a free version, a free way of like having your, a line here and then a line and then a line, and you can sort of format it in your notepad of your iPhone.
So notepad is NOTEPAD, okay?
Notepad.
Just making sure.
Notepad.
Just making sure.
And I'd love to say one more thing about Hootsuite. Since we're talking about relationships, that's even cooler than scheduling. What you can do, a listening strategy. You can take on Hootsuite and create streams. They look just like your timeline feeds of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and just see what you want to see, all in one dashboard. So much cooler than the auto scheduling feature, even though that's really cool. But it saves you so much time. In 10 minutes a day, you can go to Hootsuite and just look at the streams, like the posts you want to see. You can make Twitter lists for just the people you want to see and put them in Hootsuite. So then you're like, I want to go to this Twitter list of the casting directors I like, or, my friends from this show. And then you just engage with those people. And then you don't have to you don't actually have to sign into Twitter anymore. if you don't want to, and you don't have to see all the chaos, and you can decide what you want to see, and that's all within Hootsuite. You can connect up to 3 accounts for free, unless that's changed in the past 2 days. It's so valuable because you can go in just a couple minutes a day and engage with the people that you want to engage with, all in those streams. And that's what they call them.
And keywords too. So it could be people, or it could be like, if you're looking to network with, I don't know, or just like listen to people talking about acting or, casting directors or whatever topic that you want to connect with. It's just, I'm one for efficiency. That's like, makes me feel like I'm whole in life. I don't know about y'all, but so Hootsuite just is such a helpful tool. And I didn't say what Planoly was, so just really briefly, what Planoly is it specifically for Instagram, because once you get really, really into Instagram, you want to plan your whole feed, right? And so once you take a new photo, you want to get so specific that it really complements the photo before it, so that your 3 squares straight down will look beautiful, so that it's not just a per image thing, but you're planning your entire feed, because when people go to your feed on Instagram, that's really what they see. They see the bigger picture. If they go to your page, they'll start scrolling through. And so it's storytelling, and it's with color and the whole thing. So literally what Planoly is you plug in your pictures into those squares to see what the entirety of it looks like together, before having to have it go live, right? So you can kind of move things around. Oh, do I want to post this picture first or that one? I'll flip them around, see what it looks like as a whole, and then you post and then you go live.
I saw one musician take 9 pictures, but it made up 1 picture. I've seen that on Instagram.
There's like a tileogram, or I don't know.
Is that what it's called?
What is it called?
Perfect
so they
square.
literally, the 9
That's
pictures,
good.
when you
Yeah.
scroll through their profile,
Yeah.
it made 1 giant picture. So feel free to steal that because I didn't do it.
That's
so
a
you
cool
go ahead.
one, yeah.
We got a lot of questions. Let's get to your questions. Look at this. This is the stack of questions you guys gave us. So hopefully we can get through all of these questions. Keywords. This is actually, that's a good segue into this question here. Is it important to always use the same hashtags for your brand? And more generally, how should we be using hashtags?
Okay, so important in the sense that you'll start to develop a community of people who will expect you to be posting, and also you can click on the hashtag and interact with those people. So you start to connect with other people. Also, it helps you with your branding. If you use, like, for example, hashtag Actors Life is a really great one to use. I was gonna say something else and I totally left my brain, but come back to it.
It'll come back to you.
Yeah.
I want to throw some praise to Mandy Gonzalez, who's currently in Hamilton. She started hashtag Fearless Squad, which again is tapping into a why. Why are you an artist? You're there encouraging people, inspiring them. So beyond self-promotional hashtags, you, in terms of using one for your brand, whatever is important to you, and having a hashtag that you can track. So ours is artist to artist. Just advice for artists, but in terms of leveraging hashtags, we talked about Instagram being the place to use many. Using your notepad, keep a list of up to 30 hashtags. That's where you do want to go period, enter, period, enter, period, enter. On a second line, this is very granular, so a good thing it's recorded. You can watch this again. On a second line, you want to do 5 periods down, and then you can add up to 30 hashtags on Instagram. I keep them in a notepad on my phone, and I have them titled. One for my dog account, this client, Tony. So you can use those keywords. They do get stale, so you want to sort of mix it up, and you want to apply it.
Can I ask a question about that? I've seen some people put those hashtags in their first comment. Does that do the same result?
Exactly. You want to do pretty instant because it is categorized and the more specific. So if it's hashtag dance, there's going to be millions of posts. But if I use hashtag salsa dance or hashtag point, it's going to be more specific. And so there are benefits to using different things, but if you can be like the top post on a specific tag, hashtag, and that's another way to join the conversation. What I want to also remind people is not just using hashtags, but it's another way to listen and engage. So you can track hashtag Peter Pan Live and go see what's happening, or join the party at the Tony Awards and like add your 2 cents. So use them with intention. It can be really noisy. Yeah, and mostly hashtags for Instagram.
And for Twitter, make sure you use them in moderation. Don't go hashtag crazy. You know, a lot of studies have shown anything more than 3 hashtags gets less engagement. Okay, so think 3 or less. And I think that's because after 3, your post starts looking less like a conversation and more like spam. So I say use hashtags like butter. Use it sparingly and try to spread them out throughout the tweet. You don't have to put them all at the end and, call attention to them. Put them throughout the tweet and use hashtags. Use the right hashtags. That's what I'm trying to say. Use the right hashtags. I saw an actor the other day post looking for a hashtag acting, hashtag coach in hashtag New York City. Now, it's great this actor was reaching out to try to find an acting coach within his community and the world because he was using hashtags. But hashtag acting is going to possibly put him, in the right conversation. But hashtag coach, it's going to put him in the sports world or it's going to put him in the life coach world. Hashtag New York City is not specific enough. And that's what Tony was just talking about, because the chances that someone is using that hashtag that is actually going to be talking about an acting coach is very small. So make sure your hashtags anywhere, but especially on Twitter, are specific and that you're using the right hashtag so that you not only show up in search, but you show up in the right search.
Jumping off that, if you're trying to get witty and come up with a creative hashtag, please search first and see what else has been used with that hashtag, because there's been some unfortunate things that I've seen. Yeah, just a warning.
Anecdote.
Anecdote. But then also, I remembered what I was going to say before, which is there's a really helpful, totally free online tool called Hashtagify. And if you type in...
How do you spell that?
Yeah. Really? No. I don't, just approximate it, it'll pop up. But the really great thing with Hashtagify is if you type in a hashtag, it'll show you what the popularity is for that usage of the hashtag, and also will give you lots of little bubbles around it for other most popularly used hashtags that are similar in nature. So that way you can really start to diversify the hashtags that you're using and still stay on brand and reach the people that you want to reach.
This question is from Ben. What do you think the next big thing in social media will be, and what do you think will go away? I have a lot of money in this MySpace thing.
What about Zane?
Tom gave me a good tip. They got the white shirt. Remember Tom? He was everyone's friend. Anyway. So what's gonna grow and what's gonna go away?
I think what we're seeing be popular is live content. But the more popular something becomes, the more hard it is to be seen and heard. So I will think we will see more live content, more disappearing content, because people do not want to be marketed at. They want to connect. It's all about connection. So I would encourage you to go live when you have the reason to go live to share something. And use that for now. And then I don't think it's a fear factor. I do think we will see social media evolve to more, we'll see, but these are not non-for-profit companies. So I think we'll see more pedestrian financial opportunities where you can pay X amount of dollars to have X from Twitter or Instagram or Facebook.
I think I went to the Periscope Summit. I'm like the biggest nerd. Like a couple years ago, my money was not in MySpace, but it was in Periscope, and I was so wrong. So like live stream, like people are, I don't know. I go to a lot of conferences, like VidCon. I was just at VidCon, the big YouTube convention. I don't know. So they're always talking about like what the next big thing is. For like a while, it was live streaming, and then it was VR, like virtual reality. I just think generally speaking, it's shorter and shorter content. They call it like snackable content, and video specifically. So like all of my clients.
How long would a snackable content video be?
Under a
approximately?
minute.
Under a minute? Okay.
Yeah.
Next question is from Lorna. I'm sure that a lot of people want to know the answer to this one. How do you get verified? How do I get that blue check mark beside my name that makes me feel important in the world? How, Tony, how?
Well, I've always worked with publicists with my clients, and you really do, like Facebook, and it owns Google, owns YouTube. Like all of these places do not have a direct line, and guess what? Everyone in the world, not just our country, but the world wants that blue check mark. So again, it's a little bit like chicken or the egg. It's going to happen when it should happen for you. And the clients that I have that have been verified are legit celebrities.
So I'm not a legit celebrity. However, I am verified on Facebook. And the way that I got verified is I have no idea. I woke up one morning and I had an email and they said, "You're verified, congratulations." And I think that part of it had to do with the number of followers that I had, because I have over 45,000 followers. And I think the other thing was I'm very well connected online as a whole. So my website and all of my social media platforms are all connected with each other. So they literally were just able to verify that I'm an individual human that exists. And they've labeled me a public figure, which is fun. The other thing is Twitter. Actually, I recently found they have an email where you can email them and inquire about being verified. They have very strict rules about who gets verified and not. And then Instagram, I think, is the hardest of all the three to get verified. I remember maybe a couple years ago, Gina Rodriguez, you guys know who she is? Amazing actor. She was not verified, and she was the lead on Jane the Virgin. And people were like, hello, Instagram, you got to verify Gina. Now she's verified. She's been verified for a while. But who knows?
So yes, the only one you can really apply for is Twitter. And just Google how to get verified on Twitter. It's in the Twitter guidelines, it's on the site, and you actually just fill out a really short form. It's very simple, but your brand is important. They're gonna ask you to provide up to 5 links. Make sure you give them 5 links to articles about you, to your website, to your IMDb. A couple of things they won't tell you that I know work because I've done it with clients. When you go into your settings on Twitter, make sure your email address, if it can be, is Heidi@HeidiDean.com, even though that's not my website, but make sure it has your name in it. Make sure your email address has your name in it. Any information that you give them, it has your name in it and it's your brand. It's very important. Don't say that you live in New York, New Jersey, Chicago, everywhere. Put a location in your bio. Have a bio, have that header photo, have a profile photo. Those are all things you have to get verified on Twitter. So you need to have everything I mentioned earlier about that first impression. But the email address is very important, and the website too. If you have a website, make sure that is in your Twitter profile, because that can make a difference. Because they want to verify that you're a real person. Okay, so but you can apply for it, and it has nothing to do with followers. I've had clients with 700 followers get verified, and clients with 200,000 followers get verified through that process. So.
There's 2 things I want to say as well to add on to that. If you work for a company, let's say you're a contributor to The New Yorker. I'm just using an example. The New Yorker will have a social media department that has an inside track on verification. So if you are a contributor, then their social media department will already have a pre-existing relationship with Twitter to verify a lot of their writers or their content creators. So if you happen to work for a brand like that, you should reach out to your social media department if that's something of interest to you. Hey, can you help me get verified? Because they may have an inside track. So that's one thing. The other thing is, if you are verified and you change your username, you will no longer be verified. So keep that in mind. If you change your username, this happened to me, I can tell you from experience. You work for a company, they make you change your username to your name, the company name, whatever it is. And then you leave the company, you change your username, you won't be verified anymore. So just keep that in mind.
And one last thing real quick. I mean, it used to be a status symbol to get this blue check by your name, but it's actually much more than that now, in that a lot of verified accounts now have additional features that unverified accounts do not have. So it very recently used to be like a status ego thing. Oh my God, I want my blue check. But now there are features that they'll roll out first to verified users. I agree, the only way that I've really seen it, it's like you have to know somebody, or you have to know somebody who knows somebody, or you have like PR firms just get it done somehow. But yeah, it actually, like, there's features that you can get with that check also.
we briefly touched up on this, but it might be best to elaborate as well. This one's from Laura. What is the best time of day to post on each platform? What have you guys seen work the best on each platform in terms of time of day?
It's per person. It's not, don't read any article out there from any social media site that says the best time is Monday between 12 and 1, because usually those are written for businesses, number one. They're not written for artists, but it is per person. If you have a Facebook page, just go to your audience insights. It's right there for you. It's gonna tell you the best time of day to post, the best time of day and the best day. Instagram, if you have the business account, it's gonna show you. If you're using a third-party app like Iconosquare, for Instagram, it is going to tell you detailed analytics about your account, but also it will tell you the best time of day to post. Twitter, you can use something called Follower Wonk. Yes, these have all strange names. Follower Wonk. And it will tell you the best time of day to post for your followers for free. And it's great because that means that you don't have to post possibly 5 times a day. Now you can pick the best times a day, especially if you're making content and you're trying to drop that YouTube video and you really want people to see the tweet about it. So you don't have to tweet all day. Find the best times. And those 3 things are the best free ways to do it, I think.
I agree that it's a per person thing and you want to be aware of your own analytics, but I've also noticed a trend on Instagram specifically that people tend to I get the most likes at certain times. Maybe this is an individual thing, but I also think there's another connection. Around 7 or 8 a.m. when people are getting ready to go to work, around 1 o'clock when people have just had their lunch, and around midnight when people are lying in bed scrolling through bored. So I think there's some correlation there a little bit.
And I will bounce off of that. Think about your purpose for posting. So if you think people are on their way to work, they're kind of just checking in with the day's headlines. So that's about visibility, getting a thought out there, making an impression, top of mind awareness. But if you want someone to click on a link, make a purchase, to buy a ticket, view your video, share it with their friends, late nights are better, nights and weekends. It's actually when people are more kicked back and relaxed. The only exception that I would say, which is risky, is a holiday. I had this discussion on July 4th with a client. But honestly, the internet is 24/7, so there will always be an audience out there. So I don't encourage overthinking. And then also consistency is great as well, especially with video content. And every Tuesday I put out a video.
Oh, and for videos, TubeBuddy is awesome. TubeBuddy will help you do a million things on your YouTube channel if you're a content creator, but it will also tell you the best time to post your video for your account, which if you're a content creator, that could be really important. So, TubeBuddy. Tube like T-U-B-E. Buddy. And it helps you with keywords and all sorts of stuff too. It's really pretty amazing. And the basic version is free. So.
All right, we got time for one more question, and we'll make this as generous as possible. We'll go down the line. If nothing else, if our audience here remembers nothing else from this panel, what is the one thing you would love for them to leave with regarding social media from this panel?
I would say if you're gonna do it, just you have to love it to really be consistent with it, and you really have to be passionate about it. I think everyone on this panel is really passionate about it. So what we do for a living, we really love it and enjoy it. So it shouldn't be a laborious process. If it is, focus on other things that you're already doing in your life that are fantastic, but love it and do social media.
Be brave. Connect with who you are as an artist and find a way to translate that to your social media presence. And also get really clear on who you want to work with as an artist and connect with them, genuinely reach out and connect.
I'd say don't wait. Don't wait to hop on social media until you get that big dream job or you hit some milestone in your career. Because really, the last time in your career that you want to spend time learning social media 101 is when you've booked that job. You want to spend all your time being the best actor you can be and building those relationships. And that's a huge mistake I see actors make, is they just wait. So don't, leave here, try some of the tools we told you about, commit to one of your platforms so you don't get overwhelmed, and just do it. Don't wait, because it is important.
Remember that it is 20% of the bigger picture. Keep that in mind. Remember to start with why, so that you're giving something and not asking, and focus on connection with yourself, with your audience and let it grow from there.
How about a round of applause for our panel, everyone? Thank you very much for coming.